Hello everybody, welcome to the Derby Computer Museum. As I Retrodude and welcome. I'm here to interview a really awesome dude from this museum, Rob Watson. How are you doing?
I'm alright mate, how are you?
Right, and we're going to ask some awesome questions. Here we go. Okay, I have some questions for you.
Marvellous.
One of the questions I want to ask you is, what inspired you to open the Derby Computer Museum?
Moments of insanity, I think. There were a few things, a few different reasons. So, I was born in '83, and obviously, computers have evolved in my lifetime massively. And I remember going to PC World with my dad in Purley Way in Croydon. And I remember looking at things in there that I really wanted, that I could have never dreamt of affording, like little HP palm tops that I'd just look at with wonder and go, wow. And throughout lockdown, as an almost 40-year-old man, I could now afford to buy some of those things on eBay, and I started buying some of these things. They derived from me, but I'd look at them and go, wow. Also things like Toshiba librettos. We've got a 70 CT and a 110 CT in there. Those were like some of my dream machines that I now finally own. But after I had opened them up, played them for 10 minutes, I'd be like, well, that scratched that itch. And then I just put them to one side, and then that would be that. So I had all these things collected, and then after the third lockdown finished, I came into Derby city centre with my family. I've lived in Derby 13 years now. I've got a wife and a 3-year-old daughter, and we came in and I thought, wow, Derby's really gone downhill. I think like most city centres especially, I think they were suffering before lockdown, but post-lockdown, I think obviously it's become much more of an issue. And I thought, oh, what a shame, because it's really starting to go downhill and there's not a lot for families to do. I thought it'd be nice if there was just something nice for families and for people to do. I thought, well, at one point complaining about it, maybe do something about it. And then that evening, I was literally sat on the loo, and I was scrolling through Facebook, as you do, and I'm on a bunch of retro and vintage computing groups, and there's loads of people who've got a whole room in their house dedicated to their retro computers. I thought, oh, that's a bit of a shame, because you've got these really cool things and some really rare things, but nobody gets to enjoy them. Anyway, so a combination of all of those things, I got off the toilet, and I came back into the lounge. I did wash my hands, and said to the missus, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to open a computer museum. And she's like, oh, for goodness sake. Because she knows that if I have a stupid idea like that, I'll follow through with it. And 18 months later, here we are.
Wow, that's amazing, dude. She's coming from that idea of inspiration and said, let's do it.
Let's do it, yeah.
And that's because there's so many computer museums, isn't there, around the country, especially one in Sheffield as well. Have you been to that one?
No, I've not. Is that the arcade one? I heard that moved to Manchester.
That was originally from Nottingham, and then they moved to Sheffield. Yeah,
there's Retro Computer Museum in Leicester, and there's a Centre for Computing History in Cambridge. I haven't had a chance to visit them because I've just been too busy doing this, but at some point I will have a field trip.
Okay, right. So next question I want to ask you is, tell me about the volunteer work that people can do here.
So we are a registered charity similar to other museums and other computer museums in the country. So we are reliant on volunteers. Without volunteers, we don't exist. I realised quite early on that whilst this museum had evolved from my private collection, it wouldn't be successful if it was Rob's Computer Museum. It needed to be Derby Computer Museum. It needed to be bigger than me. So volunteers are absolutely crucial to us. So we have volunteers that run the museum. So it's November now. It's mid-November now as we're speaking, 2022. But we open in December, and we will have volunteers running the museum when we open, basically. So in 2 weeks' time, every Saturday, 10 till 4, we'll have volunteers basically running the museum. I guess, like, how if you go to like a National Trust place like Keviston Hall or Hardwick Hall or Chatsworth or somewhere like that, there's always like I don't mean to sound derogatory, but there's always an old biddy in every room who's like keeping an eye on everything, making sure no one takes that lovely painting from the wall or
get the security guard ready.
They're effectively doing the security, but then they've also, they've also got like a clipboard with loads of information, and they'll know a lot about that room. So if you ask them something, there'll be a fountain of knowledge. So we're doing something here. We've got 6 themed rooms, and we want to have either a volunteer in each room or for every other room, so that they're there to answer questions that the public might have. So anybody who's got knowledge of vintage computers is great. We also have volunteers doing repair as well, so we've got a little lab over there which we're hoping to expand over time. So volunteers doing electrical repair. We also have a volunteer, Heather, who's she's been brilliant. She's only just joined us in the past week or two, and she's been really active. She's doing a lot of marketing and PR. Volunteers to do the boring things like cleaning. We also have volunteers doing video editing, so we are trying to document bits and bobs of computing history and film those, and so we're having people edit those videos. So yeah, lots of volunteer roles available really, and we need all the help we can get.
Can I join?
Yeah, of course you can. And you're only up the road, so.
Well, I can easily get the train from Matlock to here, so there's no worries. Right, cool, thank you. Question 3 is, what is your mission for Derby Computer Museum?
It's a few fold. So number 1, the obvious, is to preserve and maintain computing history. So I think it's really interesting, because if you go to most museums, the exhibits in the museum are older than you. Like if you go to the British Museum in London, you go see the Rosetta Stone. That thing's like 2,500 years old. Whereas probably 80% of the exhibits in this museum were created in my lifetime. I was born in '83, and I think that's quite unusual if you think about the evolution of human history, and then just how quickly this part of history has evolved. And I think that I feel some kind of sense of responsibility to preserve part of this history just for future generations, and so that people can learn about it. So whilst it's a hands-on museum, so the vast majority of things you can see, you can touch, you can use. If they've got games on them, you can play the games. At the same time, we are a museum, so everything, I'm just looking around the museum now, but everything has got interpretation panels explaining the history of the machine, the year it was made, things like that. So number 1 is to preserve and maintain computing history. Number 2, and it's a cause close to my heart, is to provide work experience for young adults with special educational needs. So we work, one of the ways we do that, one of the main ways we do that, is we work with a 6th form for a special educational needs school that's a few doors down the road, Horizons. We work with a few of the teachers there, mainly Joe Johnson, who's been really, really helpful in supporting us. They have been through the entire museum, asset tagged everything, put everything on our database. So if you go to our website and go to the exhibit section and view which exhibits we have, that section's still being updated, but if you go through that, that's all populated by the kids at Horizons. They've also restored, we had a bunch of chairs donated by Nando's, they've restored all of those, sanded them down, and they do a whole bunch of other things at the museum. They're coming up with some of our t-shirt and mug ideas, so they're getting like real world experience to prepare them for the real world. And then we also have a couple of volunteers who have special educational needs, that volunteer on the Saturdays as well. So
basically you give them a platform to learn new knowledge so they can go out and be a programmer, designer and stuff like that?
No, well, I think it doesn't matter whether you have special educational needs or not, but I think as a young adult, a teenager, you need to be prepared for the real world, don't you? I mean, if I go back to when I was 19 compared to being 39, I didn't really kind of necessarily understand the real world, and you need some kind of preparation for it and some real world experience, and real world experience in. It's like, okay, people say when you're a kid, wait till you get into the real world and you have to get a real job. I guess it's a bit like that in the respect that we're just trying to give them real world experience that will benefit them. The other thing is genuinely, so number one, preserving history. Number two is working with SEN kids. But number three is of course just leisure activity, something for people to do. I think a lot of city centres, obviously, I would say, going downhill, and it's nice to have something to do, isn't it? So it's not just families; it's people of all ages. Whether they come in their own, they come in with a family. It's a place to reminisce, place to enjoy. Just have fun and enjoy yourself, really.
Definitely.
And then last but not least is for education. So we probably won't be doing this until mid next year. But it's somewhere for primary and secondary school field trips as well, so that they can see a piece of history.
Piece of history.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that question. Right. So, what is your one favourite computer? And tell me why.
One favourite. Can I not do three?
Go on. Put three on top.
So I love portable computers. So I think because when I was growing up, they didn't really exist so much because they were ridiculously expensive. And things like iPhones and stuff like that didn't exist. This is the Toshiba Libretto 70 CT. I've also got the 110 CT. This, I just think it's fantastic because it's the size of a VHS cassette, and this is a Windows 98 machine. You can play loads of games on it as well. It's just so cool and it's so cute, and I just wanted to cuddle it, and I love it. So that was something I always wanted, which I now have. I really like portable computers. So this is the Atari Portfolio. So this machine here, if anybody's seen the film Terminator 2, when John Connor is hacking into that cash machine to withdraw some money.
America,
So that's the computer that he's using, and that was also used, I think, when he's getting through like a pin-coded door at some point. I mean, it's all fabricated, but whilst it's Atari branded, it was actually made by a company called DIP Research, who were in Guildford and Surrey, so it's a British machine. But my first computer was an Atari ST, so I remember seeing that in the film, going Atari, I was like, wow, I want one of those.
It's impressive, isn't it?
And then last but not least, and this has got a lot of sentimental value, so this is a Scion. So this is a Scion 3MX, which is the best version of the 3 series. But my grandfather had the 3A, which we do actually have. It's in a bit of poor condition, but it's in our Scion cabinet over there, so we've got like the history of the Scions. And I just my granddad would really let me play with his, because he was using it for obvious reasons. It's expensive, but I was always just in awe of these machines and just how wonderful they were. So yeah, just fantastic. Absolutely love them. So yeah, little portable computers. They are the things that I always wanted to own that we've now got in the museum.
Brilliant, excellent. What is your goals for the future of this museum?
To exist for as long as we can, I think, would be the first one. So I think it's late 2022 now, and of course one of the scariest things is the cost of electricity.
Yes.
Which businesses, which would include charities, aren't shielded from in the same respect that households are, and a lot of households are having issues because it's just gone up so much. And obviously a lot of these computers aren't particularly energy efficient. We've got big CRT screens, so I think at the moment, I'm trying not to set my heights too high because I'm just really trying to concentrate on getting the basics running and making sure that we're financially stable. I mean, we don't have staff costs, that's one of our biggest things, but electricity costs is the thing that scares me the most. So I think just making sure that the museum is self-sufficient and it can run without me, I think that's like my real initial goals. I run a business as well, and I've managed to be successful with that business. It's been going since 2004 because I've made it run without me. I've always made myself redundant so that I am irrelevant to it. And I think my first goal with the museum is just doing that, so it can run without me and the volunteers can run it. It's systemised.
Yes.
I think then number 2 really is just to inspire. Really, I think when I mean, whilst it's not exclusively for families to come in, anybody from any age can come to the museum. But I remember, when I was, going to a kid, into PC world and seeing things like these portable computers and just looking at them with wonder and awe, and that got my imagination going of what I could do with them.
Yes.
And now, I've been a professional computer programmer and web developer now since I was 18, and that turned into career. So if we can inspire people, definitely. I think that would be amazing. And again, if we can provide that work experience for young adults with special educational needs, that would be brilliant. So yeah, just to make a positive difference, really. I think you only live once, and whilst I'm really proud of what I've done with my company, I think when I'm sat on my deathbed, which will hopefully be when I'm old, not next week.
Everybody give this guy a grant.
Yes, please, that'd be amazing. It'd just be like things like that. You reflect and go, oh, that was something worthwhile doing. It made an impact on other people, and I think just to make an impact on other people, I think is a positive impact would probably be my biggest things. There's the obvious things that everybody else wants to hear, LAN parties and competitions and events. That will come, but it will be mid to end of next year once we've got our got things running properly, and we know what we're doing. We've worked out any kinks and teething troubles and know what we're doing. So yeah, it'll all come. So exciting.
Yeah, I'm really happy for you, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah. Would you do competitions in the future? Say, like, get 150 rings on site for the Mega Drive, for instance, or do a speed run of Super Mario Bros. On the NES, for instance?
Yeah, definitely. Probably won't be till like tail end of next year, just because we've got a lot to do to be ready to do that. But yeah,
okay,
yeah, it's something that actually quite a few people have asked for. But yeah,
excellent, good one. How long did it take up to set up this museum in particular?
18 months.
Wow, 18 months.
18 months, yeah, of my life.
That must be soul-destroying for you.
To some extent, my wife has been really patient. Thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, and my staff have been really understanding as well, because we share this space with my company. Yeah, I kind of feel at the moment, so we're 2 weeks to open, I kind of feel like I'm doing a marathon. And marathon's 26.2 miles. I've never actually done a marathon. I've done 10Ks, never done a marathon. I'm rubbish at running.
Right.
But I kind of feel like opening the museum, I'm on mile 25 of 26, and I've hit the wall, and I've just decided I don't like running anymore, and it's just started raining. But I know once I get through that finish line, I'll be elated. But yeah, it's been a massive slog, and a massive cost to me personally, because I've invested probably 2/3 of the money that it's cost to open this place has come from this moron here. So yeah, it's been quite exhausting, but I've been really lucky. I've had a lot of support as well. I think it's a bit of a chicken and egg in the respect that in order to get other people excited about it the way I was, in order to get volunteers involved, they needed to see something. So if I'd kind of gone to sponsors and volunteers from day dot, I don't think everybody would have really got it. So it was really me for the first 9 months of the last 18 getting half of it done, and at that point people started to get involved and because it was halfway there, people could kind of see the end result and see the vision, and that got other people excited. And then from that point, I've been really lucky to have help and support around me, which we couldn't have done what we've done otherwise. So thank you very much to all the volunteers who've chosen to do this and graft hard. So thank you.
Yeah, you guys deserve great praise from me as well. What would customers see as they walk into the museum?
They'll first arrive in our reception. So you can either book tickets online at our website, so derbycomputermuseum.co.uk, or you can physically turn up and buy a ticket. It's card only, don't accept cash. So you'll arrive there. There's a lot of steps, is the only thing I have to warn people about. So we've got, we're in the centre of Derby, right by the marketplace. We've got the whole of the second floor, the whole of the third floor, and a bit of the first floor. You'll arrive on the first floor, and then as you come in, you'll be seeing lots of vintage magazines on the walls, blown up covers of vintage computer magazines and vintage games covers and things like that. So just walking in the building, you'll get a feel for the place before you've actually seen anything. And then as you come into our second floor, it's split into various different rooms. So we've themed everything. So the first room is 70s and early 80s. So we've got things like BBC computers in there. We've got a BBC Master, a BBC Model B, Acorn Archimedes, Dragon 32, Spectrums, Amstrads, things like that. We've also got history of media in that cabinet, so 8-inch floppy, 5 1/4, 3.5-inch floppy, data tape, zip discs, you name it, and everything has got a write-up next to it explaining the year it came out, the historical significance of it. Room next door is our Japanese room, so Japanese consoles. It's probably going to be one of the most popular rooms. So we've got Sega Master System, Mega Drive, Saturn, Dreamcast, Nintendo Famicom, NES, SNES, N64, PlayStation. We don't yet, but we're hoping to have some Game Boys there for people to play as well. We've then got our British computing gaming history. So the UK and Derby especially has got a really rich computer gaming history. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a gamer. I like the technology, but anybody could beat me at a computer game. I'm rubbish.
Oh yeah, you said before to me, didn't you?
Yeah.
You said you collect video games, right?
Sorry?
You said you collect video games, right?
Yeah, we collect loads of video games, but I'm not necessarily very good at them.
that's one of them, isn't it?
But yeah, so in the British Computer Gaming History Room, we've got 13 exhibits, each showing a different British game from a different part of the country. So we've got Jet Set William Manic Miner.
Classics.
Now, interestingly, whilst it wasn't created down south, the guy who created that, I can't remember his name now, but I only found this out through looking up to write some history. He's from a place called Penge in southeast London, which is where I grew up. So shout out to Penge. Then there's Populous, Rick Dangerous. So Rick Dangerous is a guy created by a guy called Simon Phipps. That's a Derby-based game. We've got Lemmings, Dundee, Scotland, which is where some of my family history's from as well.
Oh, interesting.
Micro Machines, Zool, Wipeout, Worms. What else? Tomb Raider, of course. Another game from Derby. So we can't not have that there. That would be very silly of us. GoldenEye. Dungeon Keeper, Theme Hospital, and Grand Theft Auto. And Grand Theft Auto is a funny one because some people who've walked around the museum go, Grand Theft Auto, that's British. I'm like, yeah. I mean, although it's very American themed, and it probably is American now, originally the first games were created in Dundee by the same people who did Lemmings. So
that's it.
So there's a big Union Jack rug on the floor in that room, and you could just learn about British computer gaming history and play all the games.
Excellent.
That will then take you upstairs. So after that, you can come upstairs. That's where we are now. So we've got like 3 main spaces here. We've got over there, we've got the PC operating system history room. So you've got every version of Windows from Windows 1 through to Windows 98. So Windows 1, 2.1, 3.1. We've got a working network with all the Windows 3.1 machines. Windows 95, Windows 98, a few different versions of OS 2, GM desktop, but the vast majority of machines have also got games that you can play as well, and various different apps you can play. So you can play with very early versions of Photoshop and Microsoft Word and stuff like that. We've then got the Apple room over there, so we've got things like one of the original Apple Macs from 1989. We've then got iMacs, Power Macs. Again, they've all got games, various software. We've then, in the little hallway in the middle, we've got some rare things. So we've got Panasonic 3DO and Atari Jaguar. And then into here, behind your camera, we've got computers and music. So we've got the Atari ST sat with a sampler and stuff, which was the machine that people like Fatboy Slim used. Whitetown, who were from Derby, Darude Sandstorm, if anybody knows that big trance track from the late 90s, that was all done on Atari ST. And then we've got loads of cabinets with laptops, palm tops and servers and other bits and bobs in here. So yeah, that's what they can expect to find.
Excellent, thank you. Can anyone donate consoles or computer parts for the museum?
So yes, although, and I hate to sound snobby, but we're now starting to have to turn things away, which blows my mind. Because there's some things that we've got too many of. So 9 months ago, when we were still like trying to collect everything that we needed, we were desperately short of CRT monitors. And whilst we can plug things into flat screen, it doesn't really seem fitting. But we were really short of like VGA CRT monitors. And now we've got 9 spares. And if I see another one that someone tries to donate me, I think I'll top myself. So yes, they can, but there's some things that we desperately need and some things that we don't. So something that we're still short of are CRT TVs, preferably little ones that aren't widescreen, so little 14-inch CRT TVs so that we can cram as much in as possible. We don't have any spare ones, so when one dies, it's dead and we don't have anything to replace it with. And if we can fix it, we will do. We've got a few volunteers who are growing the electronics repair side of things, but otherwise we don't have a spare. So CRT TVs, consoles, there are a few consoles that we're either short of or we don't have replacements for. We're trying to operate on the concept of when things break, not if. It's really old stuff. So like, even setting up this museum, we've had 3 PlayStation 1s break. Fortunately, they're really cheap to buy. So in one of our storage cabinets there, I've got a box of 6 PS1s. So when one breaks, we just take one out of the box and take the other one out, and it will get put in the pile for repair. But there are various consoles that we've only got that one, and if that one dies, or not if it dies, when it dies, we don't have one to replace it. And of course, we'll fix them. But if people are in the museum, where we're ideally trying to get to is if something dies, halfway through, the museum being open, we don't want to disappoint people. So it'll be a case of, right, that machine's dead. Let's go out the cupboard, get its replacement, and then plug it in. So consoles. We've got 3 Atari STs in the museum. We've got 2 in the British room, 1 in the music room. We don't have any spare Atari STs. And they're really quite expensive to buy, like a couple of £100. So if someone's got an Atari ST they can donate, just at least so we can have it in the cupboard so it's there for when one of these breaks. That would be amazing. And we are fortunate enough to have a spare Amiga 500 if the Amigas break. But yeah, just get in contact. If you've got something to donate, get in contact. We don't take loans of items, mainly because we can't guarantee their safety. They might break, they might get vandalised by the occasional idiot that comes into the museum, and we don't have any money to buy things. We've had some people going, "I've got this, do you want to buy it?" I'm like, no. If you want money, go onto eBay and sell it. We're not.
Fair enough.
We don't have funds to buy things. We're a charity.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, if people think got to donate, just email us at donations@derbycomputermuseum.co.uk, and it will probably be me or one of the volunteers getting back to you.
Great. Can you tell me about your education background?
Non-existent. So I went to Kelsey Park School for Boys in Beckenham in South East London, which is a funny place because it was in the actual school was down a really nice road with lots of really posh houses, but all the kids that went to it were from like the rougher areas around, including me. I think there's 3,000 secondary schools in the UK, and Kelsey Park was ranked the 7th worst or something. It was on the 18 schools that were on the named and shamed list in the mid-90s. So yeah, so I left. So I got my GCSEs, but then I went to do sixth form for a bit and then dropped out. Really disillusioned with it all. But one great thing that I did actually learn in school is me and one of my friends, Dan Starkin, we were always tinkering with the school's computers, hacking into them, getting up to mischief with them. And to be fair, that's how I learned a lot of my early stuff about computers. I remember we created this program that would draw little Christmas tree on the screen, play We Wish You Merry Christmas through the PC speaker, wipe the hard drive, copy itself onto it. So that's the only thing the machine could do. Vandalism, I guess. So probably not to be too proud of it, but we learnt loads of just little bits and bobs of programming. We learnt a lot about network because that's what the school network ran. So yeah, whilst I didn't necessarily learn a lot of the traditional things you'd learn at school, I did learn a few other things, and then I desperately wanted to work in computers and web design, and then managed to talk my way into my first job in London Bridge when I was 18, and then it went from there, really.
Brilliant, excellent, thank you. Have you got any plans for, say, like classes in understanding computer language or designing games on console/PC?
Not really. I think just due to the space, the space that we've got is quite good in the respect that because we've got lots of little rooms, we've been able to theme them and curate them and have like distinct sections. But what we don't have is one big open space to do things like classes and stuff like that. So probably not. And I think there are other places that are doing that kind of thing and I'll probably be doing a better job. So I believe the Centre for Computing History down in Cambridge, I think they do some of that kind of stuff and they do it really well. And I believe North West Computer Museum, that isn't open yet, I think they'll be opening next year. They've got like a big open space and I think they're planning to do stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a case of if other people are doing it and they're better equipped to do it, then why try and do a worse job?
Fair enough. Okay. Are you going to invite more guest speakers like video game celebrities, programmers, designers, etc. like Phillips before?
Yeah, so yeah, if they want to come along, that'd be great. There's actually loads of you know, classic video game designers that are actually in Derby. So we had Simon Phipps, who's been absolutely lovely. He did games like Rick Dangerous, which was a childhood favourite of mine. He came and did a video interview with us, which we've put on our YouTube channel, which is just Derby Computer Museum. There's a link to it on our website. We're not YouTubers by any means, but I think it's important to, if you can, get interviews with these people to learn about the technologies they use and how those technologies have changed, and that kind of is part of our mission of preserving and maintaining computing history. And if we stick it on YouTube and people like watching it there as well, that's great, but we're also going to have it so people can watch these videos in the museum, and which would be great for people who, you know, are on YouTube and stuff, or don't, you know, use it. But yeah, I was in the pub the other day, big shout out to the Furnace Inn in Derby, because I've been going around various pubs with our leaflet holders and posters and begging them to display them for us because we've got very little marketing budget. And I was in there dropping off some leaflets and I bumped into a guy who was with a chap called Dell, who I can't remember his last name now, but he used to work at Codemasters, Eurocom and Core Design, and he also used Simon Phipps, and he worked on games like Micro Machines and stuff like that, and also the Game Genie, you know, the little tube thing. So he actually lives around the corner from me and he's hoping to come in to do an interview. I've also spoken to one of the chaps that worked on Dungeon Keeper. He's in Hong Kong, so that interview would probably be like a Zoom type thing. But yeah, hoping to do more of that as and when time allows, and as and when I can get a hold of these people. So I've been quite fortunate with some of the local people. If they know other people, it's been kind of through, like, you know, one person through the other person to kind of get in contact with them. But then we're also not trying to do things that other people do really well, because, you know, there's lots of really great YouTube channels such as yours.
Thank you, cheers.
Where, you know, those interviews have been done. So I don't see the point of doing something that other people have done and not doing as good a job. You might sort of let people who are really good at doing what they do what they do really well, and you know, stay out of their way kind of thing. So yeah, we'll be doing it, but, you know, our aim isn't. We'll definitely push our YouTube thing, but it's not really our aim isn't to be like YouTube.
I was just going to add something. Would you fight with the Oliver twins, say, in the future?
Yeah, if they wanted to come along, I think that this Dell chap that I met in the pub the other day said that he knows them. So yeah, cool. If they want to come along, then by all means they'd be very welcome.
Yeah. I'll definitely keep an eye on that. I love Dizzy games.
Yeah.
They were amazing back in the day, weren't they?
I think Dell said that he worked on a lot of those Dizzy games as well, but we'll find out. It was really interesting because I was having a chat with him and he was telling me loads of stuff. I was like, right, stop, I need to film this. So he was telling me some really interesting things about micro machines. Like, no, I need to ask this another time with a camera in the museum. So I did take his contact details, but he took mine.
Cool.
And he only lives around the corner, so if he doesn't get in contact with me, I'll just have to go and bash on his door and go, please come in.
Please, yes, come in, please.
Hope he doesn't call the police. I've got a stalker.
Really do. Do you know any bad computer jokes?
Oh no, I don't. But we do have a book over there about computers, like a sketchbook cartoon one that's really cool. But no, I don't know any bad computer jokes.
Oh.
I only know rude jokes, which aren't suitable.
Yeah, because it's YouTube and Susan on YouTube will go, no. Okay, that's fine. What is your favourite memories from the 80s/90s?
In general or of computer games?
Both. Well, both really, yeah.
I think, like computer related, I think like a real key and fun time for me was playing with our first PC. So our first, it wasn't our first computer, but our first PC was an LNX 386 that my dad bought second hand from his work, from Lewisham Council, for £100. Upgraded it from 2 meg to 8 meg RAM, and then did the whole multimedia thing, which was the thing at the time, where multimedia, which basically meant, you know, taking a machine that only had a floppy drive in, put in a sound card, and then CD-ROM drive in it and some speakers effectively. And that machine had things like the Grodia Encyclopedia on it, and you could watch like very low res version of the moon landing where Armstrong gets out.
I saw that, yes.
And it had his famous famous phrase, one small step for man, big step for mankind. But also that gave you PC CD-ROM games, so games that that were too big to ship on floppy disks. I remember playing one that I really liked. I think it was called Desert Storm. You flew around in a helicopter, and it was like a bird's eye view type game, and I really enjoyed playing that.
Oh, okay.
And I absolutely loved playing SimCity 2000 as well.
Wow, that's great, yeah.
And listening to the NAF background music. Or I used to have my dad's radio on in the background, listening to Capital Radio. But yeah, I think that was like a fond time playing those kind of games.
Yeah, I share your similarity to my parents bought a PC in '98 and we played Pod Race, whatever it's called, but we crashed the computer like probably about 20 times, and my dad got annoyed and and it just went beep 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 under the sun. But and then I remember, like you said, with the encyclopedia, they had those video files, didn't they, that they played? Yeah. Like the moon landing, like you said, and they had awesome pieces. I remember one game, but I don't know what it was, but it was something. It was like a psychedelic game, but it's like a point and click game. But I don't know what it was called, but there was this one bit that went love. If you tapped, click on the creature, it went love, 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 love. And it was just so bizarre, but it was such a unique game back in the day. If only you could find out what that game was.
I know there's a game that I used to play that I love. I've got no idea what it was called.
Nice. What makes your museum unique compared to other museums out there?
Oh, good question. Well, seeing as I need to pull my finger out my bum and go and visit some of these other museums, I don't necessarily know for sure. Only from what I have seen on their social media and their website. I think one thing that I'm trying to do here is just have a cross section of computing history, not a focus on just one particular thing, which is quite nice how we've got the different 6-7 themed rooms. Because I know some computer museums are focus predominantly on the gaming side of things, and whilst of course that is a big part of computing history, it's not all there is. So there's lots that you can learn about besides the computing history. And I think one thing that we've really made the effort to do is the interpretation panels and the write-up. So every single exhibit you'll see here has got a little display board next to it explaining the history of it. And I've noticed from what I've been able to see of the other museums, they've got the exhibit on display, but they've not necessarily put all the effort in to do the museum bit, as it were, and do the actual the write-up and the history of it. So I would say that would be one of our USPs, as it were. And I think again our drive to really make a difference in the local community. It's not just about the computing history. We're providing work experience for adults with special educational needs. So there's a bigger picture element to it as well.
So it's opening up more avenues for more opportunities for people.
Exactly.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Can people book online to visit your museum, of course?
Yep, just go to derbycomputermuseum.co.uk and click book online.
That is short and sweet version. So can schools basically learn about computer history here?
Yeah, definitely. So we're hoping to have school field trips up and running next year. Horizons are actually going to be managing a lot of that for us, so their students can get experience in marketing school field trips and arranging school field trips, and actually showing some of the kids around, but also building like worksheets for them to do and stuff like that. So that's going to be a great experience for them. But yeah, we'll be having primary and secondary school field trips where they basically have the museum for the morning, afternoon, or the day. So
I imagine they have to book ahead, do they, online?
Yeah, they'll need to book ahead, just email us and we'll go from there.
And you just do arrangements like that?
Yeah.
Cool, excellent. How many computers are set up in the museum?
Oh, do you know, I just write dozens on the website because I don't know, I've not counted them yet. We've got 13 in the British room. We've got 5 in the Apple room. These are the ones that are actually working, switched on, you can use. I think we've got 15 in the PC room. We've got 2 here. The 70s room, I think there's 8 or 9. There's 9 in the Japanese room. So whatever that works out to, somebody do some maths. Whatever that number is, that's the number. And then there's plenty non-working ones that are just for display as well, so glass cabinets. But we've tried to make as much hands-on as possible. Oh, and then we've got the Jaguar and 3DO on top of that as well. So
I think of what
quite a few.
Yeah, I think of what I like about your museum. It's very, very, very friendly. Friendly atmosphere, friendly wording, friendly pictures.
Good,
and the lights are really well placed as well. It's not overpowering.
I like fairy lights. I like nude lighting, and the lights in this building. We've turned these on for the purpose of the video, but a lot of these lights, the old tube lights, and they cost a fortune to turn on. Of course. So we've put loads of LED fairy lights and lamps and cabinet lights just to give it a real soft, chilled feel. Yeah. But it's also cheaper because the LED lights don't cost as much to run.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Right. So my last question to you is: how important is preservation in, say, computers and consoles?
I think really important. I think it's so interesting because I often have conversations with people going, "Oh yeah, I was doing this computer museum. Oh man, I wish you'd been doing it 2 years ago because I used to have an X machine. It had been in my loft, but I threw it away." And it's weird in the respect that some of these things that we've got in the museum have always been rare. But some of the things that we've got in the museum weren't always rare, but they're rare now because they've all been thrown in the bin. CRT monitors, of course, were worthless because they used loads of power and everybody wanted the cool new flat screens. Understandably, I was in that club. So they're kind of rare now, even though there were goodness knows how many of them. So I think the preservation is really important, especially as even if you do have said rare item, they often go, capacity goes in or whatever, which can be repaired. But a lot of these things, have got a limited lifetime. So I think it's really important. I think you don't necessarily realise how important a bit of history is until after the event, and it's why when you go to more traditional museums, a lot of things might not be in mint condition or they've had to be restored because you know, they reached the end of their lifespan and they were discarded and they were considered worthless. And it's not until, you know, tens, hundreds of thousands of years later that people have gone, wow.
I know.
And I guess we're in a similar situation. It's just that it's not been hundreds or thousands of years. It's happened in a much more finite time period and much more recently.
Exactly. We should celebrate history. I mean, the thing I don't get with Nintendo is, you know, with Nintendo, they put these games out on online service, and then they basically say, well, we're not going to release our own games on the service, but then that should be more important. I mean, it's supposed to teach people, you know, when you grew up playing these games, you should show your kids, shouldn't you? Like, this is what your dad used to play. Pac-Man, for instance. I mean, that could be wiped off, like, say, 5 to 50 years' time. History would be erased. I mean, it's so important to keep these things alive, isn't it?
Yeah, we try to keep other aspects of it alive as well. So one of the things that we've got here that I guess would be another unique point about Derby Computer Museum is we've got 2 working networks. We've got a working NetWare network, and we're in the process of building a working Windows NT network as well. So, you know, that's a bit of history that, you know, every office and every school in the 80s and 90s, you know, pre-internet, would have relied on networks and servers and things like that. And that's a period of history that's probably not as relevant now with everything being cloud-based.
Yeah.
So I think that's been something else that's been important to preserve. We've got boxed copies of Novell NetWare up there, 3.12 and 4.11. Our NetWare network here, we run on NetWare 4.2.
Yeah.
We've got 6 NetWare clients running on that in the PC room. So yeah, bits like that I think are really important to preserve as well.
Oh, definitely. Excellent. Thank you. Right, so we come to the end of the interview. Thank you, Rob Watson, for the interview. It's been a fascinating insight to the museum, the history, and the curated of the excellent computers. So, guys, it's going to be an absolute blast when it opens on... When does it open, by the way?
3rd of December.
3rd of December. So, come on down. It's great to see so many box games. It's great to see consoles in box, because one of the things I love about museums is the great artifacts of our history.
Yep.
And seeing the beautiful visualization of these boxes and
box software as well. We've got box copies of all sorts of software as well.
Yeah, and especially I didn't realise Fatboy Slim was created here, so that's fascinating as well. Have you got any questions for me, by the way?
Yes. Now, what I'm curious about,
yes,
seeing as we're not open yet, how did you find out we existed?
Through Retro World.
Oh, really? So that's a computer game shop in Derby, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
It was worthwhile me putting the leaflets there then.
Yeah. Did you know they used to have they used to be based in the Eagles Market?
Yes, I've visited them in the Eagle Market.
Yeah.
There seemed to be non-existent Eagle Centre Market, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I heard rumours apparently it's going to be a statue in there in that little space, and I don't know how that's going to work.
They're turning it into a Lidl. Okay.
That's one of the rumours I heard as well. Yeah, Lidl as well. But yeah, any more questions?
What inspired you to create a YouTube channel?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, since I loved Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and a combination of Wayne's World, I decided to combine those fusions, and that's how Retrodude came to be, because I like the going out attitude of playing these awesome games, dudes, you know, surfer lingo type of thing, and a lot of movie references, and that's the combination of how I came to be Retrodude.
Cool. And what do you do for a living normally?
I'm a retail assistant.
I always find it really interesting because, of course, a lot of YouTubers, some of them do it full time, but some of them have got full-time jobs as well. And I'm like, oh, what do they actually do in real life?
And as well as being a YouTuber, of course, part-time as well.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting to see what people do in the rest of their time.
Yeah. And
so on that theme of learning a bit more about you and outside of this, then.
Yes.
Besides retro computing,
yes.
What do you do for fun? What shapes you? What makes you you?
What makes me me? That's a good question. I'm actually an artist myself.
Okay.
I'm actually looking into making a children's book at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah. So it actually involves a very cute penguin.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'll show you that later, Clyde.
My daughter's a massive bookworm, as is my wife.
Nice.
My daughter's probably got about 1,000 books and she's only 3.
Mm.
So yes.
Excellent.
I expect a signed copy.
That'll definitely give you one. Yeah, for a signed copy, no problems. Basically, what I do mainly, I go to work and do retail assistant. Then I do exercises, go for walks, and just generally create YouTube content, which I really enjoy. It's been a revelation for me because I've been growing a lot of subscribers lately, thanks to you guys. Keep it up, great work. I think one of my proudest moments was I did a really good video the other day that's shooting up in numbers now, is why Conker's Bad Fur Day is the greatest video game ever made. And it's thanks to you guys. You actually helped me push it up, because it's been dormant. Like some of my other videos get low views, but I just got to basically tell myself to keep going and don't let
you've got to be really consistent. With
and don't let negativity get to you.
I think that's the thing that probably a lot of people don't realise is how much hard work it actually is behind the scenes, and how much. Because even this video here, I'm sure you'll spend time editing and. So yeah, I think it's a lot of dedication. Is it? You've got to be really consistent with it.
Oh, definitely, yeah, yeah. It takes a lot of life out of you, but it's good. It's good for the outcome when they see it, out there in the world, which is great. That's what I love about YouTube. It's an open platform for seeing other viewers from other countries. Yeah. Which is really awesome. I made friends from America, some from here as well. And yeah, it's amazing. YouTube, thank you for that. I'm truly blessed.
Isn't this the bit where you're supposed to say, like, share and subscribe?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Thanks for coming, mate. Cheers. That's a good comedy element, yeah. Do you know what I used to love back in the day? I used to love a thing called Monty Python.
Yep.
Yeah. Good old John Cleese.
Yep.
I was trying to get tickets to see their reunion tour, but it sold out, and I just watched it on Blu-ray. And I couldn't stop laughing. They also forgot one of their lines during that performance.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I think one of the sketches was strawberry chocolate or something like that, and it was just so freaking hilarious.
Awesome.
If you guys know what I'm talking about, of course, but I'm sure people will go, yeah, I know what you're talking about, Retrodude. Okay, thank you very much, Rob Watson. This has been an absolute pleasure. And
pleasure's all mine.
Yeah, and come and visit this museum. All right then. As the saying goes, guys, retro forever, and thanks for watching. And this is the greatest museum ever. Thank you so much.